Hello and welcome to another edition of the Girlfriends After Show here on JLJ Media. I'm your host, James Lott Jr. We have many episodes. I've been talking about season one and also some of the show stuff in general. And today's episode is about Joan and William's first fight. I keep saying, I know every episode I keep saying how groundbreaking the show is, but I'm watching it over and over now, these older episodes, and I'm like, these are really groundbreaking. Season one really established each character, the four women and William. It was a really good season back then when they had like 20 something episodes. And they established each one very clearly who they were. They gave us glimpses of where they work and where they live. That whole first season, it was great. And who they're dating, and who they're into or what into. So they always incorporate the workplace. The workplace where Joan and Maya work and William work was always important to the story and plays a really important part throughout the whole series. Even when Joan leaves, spoiler alert, she leaves being in law, which I'll do another episode on that, on Joan becoming a restaurateur. That's another story. But they did a lot they did a lot of stuff with the law firm. And even after she left, they did a lot of stuff with the law firm. I have a little allergy thing happening. And I always thought it was really well done. And this first season, they had a really big controversial episode to me, look back on it. That had a great twist to it, where Joan and William get into a huge fight at their law firm. Joan is a woman, a Black woman trying to succeed in the business. She wants to become partner. William is a Black man trying to become a partner in their junior partner. And it's always interesting because I always say, Black folks, whether you're brown, it doesn't matter, man or woman in many ways, you're trying to get ahead. You have obstacles ahead of you. But I will say this as I'm a man, clearly. I do have male privilege. And even though maybe it's a little slightly, because I'm still Black, it may only be a little bit, I still have an edge over women many times when it comes to the corporate world. Don't think that's right, of course. There's so many women who are way smarter than I would ever be, who deserve to be in positions that are, much higher than I am. And many times they don't get it because they are a woman. They go to defer to a man, the old man's club. So this episode brings us a piece of that, actually. But at first, the episode begins where it sounds like it's a Black issue. And it could have stopped there. It could have done a good job there. Joan has an idea. The partners, who are mostly men, don't hear her idea. William says something to the same effect of that same idea, and they like it. Joan confronts. This happens later in the series too, where Joan and William are on the same page at first, and they're not on the same page, and Joan does a big thing. Well, she thinks that William stole her idea, of course, and she makes a big scene in a meeting. Some of my female friends are pissed at this, saying that it was unrealistic that a Black woman wouldn't do that. They know Black women know they have to be calm most of the time. They even make jokes in the scene about her being on a period or whatever. I know that didn't go over very well. I say, I'm not a woman, so I understand if that's how you feel, of course. I say, from a viewer standpoint, it's showing us, you see throughout those series, Joan does things like this. She feels strongly about stuff, and she's very reactionary, and she also is a little neurotic. And she is someone who feels deeply, and she's a confronter. She likes to get. I'm the same way, to confront, get it out in the open. And she confronts William. So that's that whole dynamic of, and they have this a frank discussion on, we're the only two Black lawyers in this firm. So I've been in this position before too, where you feel like, well, we share each other's backs just no matter what. Now, if you remember, not all Black people are the same. and they're establishing William as someone who's different than Joan, but similar in some ways. But again, they could have stopped there and had the whole black connection. But it turns out he claims he didn't hear her, but his allegiance lies with gender. He goes more with his gender than his race. It's more about he's a man. I thought that's an interesting kind of twist. So Joan is flabbergasted. So Joan talks to her girls and stuff, and they're basically telling her your approach needs to be different. There's this, and I've read this somewhere where certain pitches and tones of voices, people tune out, especially men. When it comes to a certain higher pitch of tone of a woman's voice, they just tune out. So that kind of happens. Not saying it's right or wrong, but it happens. And so Joan is a play on that later in a kind of a scene later to get heard. She gets heard. But her and William has this big blowout about just being black and trying to make it. William, we see early on, establishes he plays the game. This comes up later in another season later too with Joan. He loves the law. He loves being a lawyer. He loves everything about it. It's not about race for him. It's about making it. He's a man trying to make it. He does realize, because he loves their friendship, which I love this. Later, he does so. He doesn't back down from that, but he does support her later in a later meeting. And they stay friends. But he tries to make a little bit of small change in the old boys club. Obviously, it didn't fit all the time, but it showed their friendship, that they can have these, and it shows them girlfriends. These girls will have some knockdown, drag out fights, but they come back together, and lessons are learned, hopefully. And I thought this was an interesting twist on the black male and female dynamic in the corporate world, where you're thinking you're kind of equal and you should be kind of supporting each other. And we should, I think we still should, but gender does play a part in it. It's another brilliant episode of the show. It's always so good. Let me know what you think, which you usually do. Let me know what you think about this episode and what you think about it. If I'm on the money about it, or if you didn't like how Joan acted, or you didn't like how William acted, let me know. Comments below. Subscribe to LJ Media. We're on every streaming platform service, audio-wise, so follow us there. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. Girlfriends is a great show. You can find it on Netflix right now, CW, BET Her, and CW Seed. And also, they have DVDs out too, which I have one right in front of me, season 1. So you can do it a little easier. I'll see you guys next time.